Okay, we're here. We're going to do a transmission fluid flush on a 2008 Ford Focus SE. I have not seen this on YouTube, so I thought it might be helpful because there's a few differences on this Focus model than previous year's models. First step you're going to want to do is you're going to want to jack up the car. This way the transmission pan is going to be easy to get to. Also, when you siphon the transmission fluid, it'll be higher than the drain point and it'll be easy to siphon out. I'm going to go ahead and show you the supply line, which is different. You've got an air filter module that fits in this spot. I already removed it, but right. See if I can show you. This is a supply line that has to be removed. I went ahead and removed it. It's this blue one. You have to remove a metal clip, and then that blue one pops out. Goes right there. We're going to tie a hose on there to do the complete flush later on. But in order to get that, the air filter module, which is this baby, has to be removed first. Apologize for going in reverse order, but I figured go ahead and start videoing this. It's two bolts that have to be removed. This one right here and this one right here. Well, actually it's right here. It's down here. So we're going to start off by doing a flush. I've already removed the dipstick from the car right here. We're going to insert a siphon hose there, and we're going to see how that goes. Okay, I finally got the suction to work. Got my hose running from the top between the radiator and the engine here, down past the oil filter there, all the way down. Here I'm holding it into my pan, and you can sort of see a very small drip. Took a while to get the gravity to siphon it out. I put my mouth on the hose, sucked it, the transmission fluid all the way to the very end of the hose, and then put the hose in my pan here, and it is slowly dripping. And this is it's kind of a pain, but it's going to make removing the transmission pan a whole lot easier if we can get a quart or maybe 2 quarts of transmission fluid out of the pan. The transmission fluid is draining, but it's very hard to hold the hose straight without your hands, so I've got a pair of channel locks crimped to the tube just by gravity, holding it down so that it could drain the rest of the way. Okay, eventually the gravity will stop pulling the transmission fluid through the hose, and I poured it into this empty windshield washer can. It's a 1-gallon can, so you can see collected almost half a gallon, maybe almost 2 quarts, not quite 2 quarts. I was hoping to get a little bit more out of it, but hopefully this will help take the transmission pan off. So let's go ahead and get under here. Of course, when you want to jack up your car, you want to practice safety. So I've got my jack, got a jack stand back there. Make sure practice safety. So got right here transmission pan. You're going to remove all the bolts on this transmission pan with your with an oil pan underneath it, so to catch your fluid. Okay, folks, got most of the screws off. I've left a couple on there just so that the pan doesn't completely fall off. This is the first time that this has been done, and the pan was very tough to get off. Had to get it here on the right side of the car, use a screwdriver and hammer just to kind of get it started. And I've just pried my screwdriver there. We're just going to let it slow drip till my pan fills up so I can put it back in my washer fluid can. And we'll do this again until all the fluid is out and I can remove the pan completely off. Okay, so once you've got the oil pan removed, you're going to want to clean the entire surface. The two tools that I used just a wood chisel and then this sharp razor blade. And the instructions actually say to do not use a wire brush or sander, as this will damage the transmission gasket surface. You've got a magnet here. Go ahead and get a paper towel. Wipe that all clean. Wipe the surface, and then do the same thing on the transmission end. Okay, here's the transmission end. I've already cleaned the surface. It turns out that since this was the first time the plant's been removed from the factory, they did not have a gasket. They just used a silicone sealant, which made it hard to clean the surface. This surface right here. So I did the best I could do. I've already installed the new transmission filter and clipped on this electrical contact. And of course, the whole purpose of doing this is not only to replace the transmission fluid, but also to replace that transmission filter. That's why we're going through the pain of doing this procedure. We're ready to install the gasket. The gasket that came with the filter is actually a rubber gasket. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open up a brand new can of transmission fluid, and we're going to place a light coating of transmission fluid all the way around the gasket on the bottom and top surface, and that, once it's installed on the transmission, is going to provide a very good seal. So all you need is a light coating of transmission fluid. Do not use any kind of gasket sealant or silicone or anything like that. We finally arrived to the fun part. That's refilling the transmission with brand new transmission fluid. I didn't realize that you're going to need a funnel with a small nozzle to fit into the dipstick for the transmission fluid. The dipstick actually says transmission fluid, tells you the type. As this being a Ford Focus, I ended up going with this Castrol Transmax. Actually says Ford approved for Mercon LV. That's low viscosity. That is what is recommended for this vehicle. So we're going to put about 3 quarts in here, and then the very last step will be the actual flushing the transmission that is in the cooling section, and that'll be our final step. I need to apologize for not filming the very last step, which is the flush. So I'm going to walk you through this. Unlike previous models of the Focus, the 2 transmission lines that go through the radiator on this model are at the top of the radiator. There are 2 transmission lines. There is one on the top of the radiator and one a couple inches lower than that hose. Both hoses are at the top of the radiator in this section. What you want to do is you want to remove the bottom hose. It'll have a blue plastic cap, and that is the supply line. You'll need to connect a hose then that runs from that supply line to a bucket. And what you'll do is you will crank the car, and you will, as the car is cranked, the old transmission fluid will run through that hose, and at the same time you'll need to add transmission fluid to the dipstick. I recommend doing about 2 quarts that way. You should see the transmission fluid that's coming out of the hose turn a bright pink, and at that point in time, go ahead, shut off the engine, connect everything back up, reinstall the heater, this airflow intake. And what you want to do is you'll want to drive the car just like a block. The reason being is, without engaging the transmission, there's a light, an engine light on the inside. It's the shape of an engine, and it's orange. It's right up here. That light will stay on until you actually drive the car. I've driven the car so it went off, but once you drive it one block, everything starts to engage and work fine. At that point, go ahead and pull it into a flat surface. Let the car sit a little bit, and then come back out. And once the transmission fluid has been able to settle, go ahead, pull out your transmission dipstick and wipe it and check your level. And at that point, go ahead and add in the remaining fluid that's required at the maximum level. Now that's supposed to be done when the engine is hot, and then you will be good to go.